and we're going to do the creating a sphere calculator. So this lab is gives you an opportunity to practice classes. And it says that the lab goal is to understand how to create a sphere class, to create a sphere calculator, but mainly it's just so that we go over classes again and continue to work on these and get better at these. And the reason why we care about classes is because it's a way for us to bundle data and functionality together. So a class is like a blueprint for creating objects, and objects are instances of a class, and each object can have its own unique data and behavior while sharing common characteristics with other objects of the same class. So the two $10 words I want you to remember are encapsulation and inheritance. Encapsulation allows you to encapsulate the data and functionality together. So the attributes and the methods are bundled together. This is encapsulation. This means that you have related data and operations bundled into a single unit. And this makes it easier to manage your code and to understand your code. And that other word, inheritance, it is one of the most powerful features of classes. It allows a new class to inherit attributes and methods from an existing class. We're not doing inheritance in this lab, but these are two things that I want you to remember that are important about classes: encapsulation and inheritance. So we'll go ahead and we'll start our work on the first, not on our first thing. I'm trying to speak better. I think that I kind of have this very casual way of speaking, and I'm trying not to do that. So we're going to start by importing math. And then we're going to create our class, and we're going to capitalize the first letter of the name of the class, and we're going to create a class constructor. Oh, it's two underlines self. So the object itself is one of the parameters, and it says that we're going to have something called attribute. ATTR stands for attribute. And this is going to just establish that the radius is attribute. If we had more characteristics, we'd do more of these, but we don't. We only have one, and that's good because we are just learning. So, oops. The point is to demonstrate an understanding of classes. Now, we're going to create a function called setRadius. So this is called a setter, and it is going to set the value of the radius to whatever the user put. And it looks like this. So if attribute is greater than or equal to 0, then good. Good. My voice cracked a little there. Then we can set radius to attribute. So that's a good input. However, if the user puts a negative number, we don't want to let them do that. Instead, we're going to just establish radius as 0. So this is one way. So we used a conditional statement to ascertain that the user enters a radius that is positive. Very cool. Okay. And next, we're going to use a getter, and the getter is going to allow us to get the value of radius. We're going to call it get radius because that's what it does. And the parameter is going to be an object. So this means that when we call it, we're not exactly putting anything into that parenthesis area. It's just self. So we're just going to I'll show you when we get there, but we're just doing this for now. So we're going to return self.radius. So that's our getter. There we go. So now we have our getter. And finally, we're going to do our calculations. So we're going to have our functions that calculate. Let me make sure. Okay, so we're not ready to do main yet. We're going to have one. Where does it say that? So you're going to have calc surface area, and it should return the surface area. And then we're going to do calc volume, and that should return the volume. So this is called calc surface area. And we're going to call the object in here. And we need to know how to calculate surface area. I don't know why my spelling is so crazy right now. Okay, so it's 4 pi r squared. So that's what we're going to do. So notice I had to look that up. That's fine. You don't need to know these things off the top of your head. I think that when I was learning how to do coding, I would see these calls for, oh, calculate this or calculate that. And it would overwhelm me immediately because in my mind, I would be like, well, I don't know how to do that. I'm not that far in math yet, or whatever was going on at the time. Just take a deep breath and know that the internet is your friend and you can always look it up. Okay, so that's a big part of computer science, is looking up information that you don't know, and that's okay. So we're going to do return for math.pi. So it's pi, and to access pi, we called the math library. So that's why we have math in the top when we imported math. Hang on. There we go. We imported math. So math.pi times self.radius times 2, or to the second. So 1 asterisk means times, and 2 asterisks means to the power of. So that's something that you can take with you today. And next we want to calc volume. Okay, I don't know how to do this off the top of my head, so I'm going to calculate the volume of the sphere. All right, and I'm just letting it load. Okay, 4 over 3 pi r cubed. 4 over 3 pi r cubed. So I will go ahead and I will return. Remember, return is going to give back. So that's what return does. It's going to give back 4 over 3 times math dot pi times self dot radius to the power of 3. Okay. So that should be it. So that's our entire class. Let me move this a little bit. Let me see if I can move this. Okay. Here we go. I don't think I need this. So we have import math. Oh, it looks like I have something going on here. Let me go ahead and run it. Okay, it runs. I don't know why it has the, what does it say? Import block is unsorted or unformatted. Let's see what debug does. Error in the import block here. To fix this, you need to sort and format the import. Huh. Okay. Let's go back to where we were. 1 second. Well, that was a nothing burger. That didn't do anything for me. So it works. It's fine. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create the user input, and I'm going to create an instance of a sphere object. Now, a sphere can be, let's see, what are things are spherical? Earth is, well, pictures of Earth are spherical. A marble, a ball. Let's do marble. So notice how I'm no longer indented. So remember that the indent is Python's way of showing that it belongs to the thing that's at the top that's less indented. So all of this stuff belongs to class sphere because it is indented um, underneath it. And then now we're no longer indented. So we're no longer defining attributes and methods for our class. We're going to create a sphere object. And to do it, we call the class name. And we need to put whatever parameters that it uses. And in this example, so self, the object, so I can ignore that. So the object itself and an attribute. So the attribute is the radius. That's what we have there. So I'm going to set the radius to 1 so that we can check our math easier. Remember, we like to start easy with these with what we put in the parameters because it's easier to check if our math is correct or check if things are running the way they should. So we keep the number small at first, something that you can calculate in your head pretty easily. Or, use a calculator too. I don't want to put a lot of pressure on you to know how to do all this stuff in your head. Okay. So user num. So we're going to get a user number. So we need to create a variable and we call it user num or num, whatever you want. And we're going to take float input, enter a radius. Now, I want you to recall that this is what we use to get user input. And when we have what we have on the outside is a casting. So remember that when we get input from the console, it comes in as a string. And this float on the outside converts the string to a float so that we can work with it. So just remember that. Marble dot set radius. So we're going to set the value to whatever the user put. So we started by constructing with the default value, and that's fine. We could also do we could also put 2.0 or whatever we want. No, we start small. So we're going to set the radius, and it's going to equal the user num, and we're going to print. So we want to, let's see, according to the lab, we want to say enter radius value. We already got that part. So we're going to do the surface area and the volume. So to do this, we are going to, here we go, marble set radius, print surface area. Okay. And we're going to concatenate this string surface area with the calculation for surface area. So to do that, we say marble.calc surface area. And it's showing that there's an error here. And it's because we can't concatenate a float with a string. So what do? We cast this value as a string. And to do that, we type in str. Let me put a close parentheses on the outside. Did it do? It didn't do. So I'm going to click it again. Okay, so now this should work because I'm going to make this bigger. Now this should work because we're concatenating a string with a string. So what happens is when it runs, it has this string, and then the inner part calculates first, and then the outer part converts it to a string. So that's the logic that goes into that. And we also want to print volume. So we're going to do the same thing for volume. Concatenate with, now we know we have to convert to a string, marble. So the name of the object that we created, dot operator, calc, volume. That should be good. That looks pretty good. So I'm looking through my code. You're looking through your code. You're checking for errors. So nothing so far. So let's go ahead and run the code. So it says enter radius. I'm going to do a small number, 1. Surface area. Oh, looks like I have not called these correctly. So I'm going to troubleshoot. Okay, so it looks like I forgot to add my parentheses that go after the name of a function. So, oops. But I'm glad that I messed up here so that I can show you what that looks like. So remember to put the parentheses, even if you don't have anything in them, it's a function. So function call is going to have these parentheses in Python. So now I'm going to run my code. I'm going to enter a small number. Okay, press enter. And the surface area is 12.5663, and the volume is 1.8879. And you can always edit how many significant digits you want, but we don't need to do that for the lab. The lab doesn't call for us to do that. Let me double check before I put my foot in my mouth. Print the results. Oh, okay. So that's all we needed to do. So this does what the prompt asked us to do. So we're good here. We don't need to do anything else. If you think that you need extra help with these, let me know and I'll make more videos about classes. But other than that, if you think you're pretty good on these, there's no need for you to let me know. That will duh. So I'm going to go ahead and stop recording. Thank you so much for listening and have a wonderful day.